Hey everyone, I want to share with you a sample module with Google Apps. I use Google Slides for this module, and the topic that I want to walk you through is the Intro to Science. On the first slide, I made sure that I changed the background. So I went to background and I chose an image, okay, from the web, and then I added it there. So I chose world map as my background. And then after that, I inserted a rectangle shape. Okay, so I clicked that. I copied and pasted it so they have the same size. And then afterwards, I added the title for each of the modules. And then I highlighted it. Okay, you highlighted it. And then you link it to whatever slide that you want or link address that you want. So for linking, you can do, for example, you don't, okay, this was pre-made, so let me remove it. So I want to show you that you can link it to the address or you can go to slide presentation. For example, for me, I want next slide and then click apply. Okay. So if ever the students wants to navigate the first module, okay, the student will just click it and it will bring him to the virtual classroom. Okay, so that's one strategy. And then what I did was on that particular topic, I used Google Drawing. For example, in the lesson How Science Takes Place, I made this bubble map or a concept map of everything that the scientists do to explore the world. So this is like a wrap up already of whatever they need to learn for that particular um, topic. Now, what if you wanted to be more interactive or cross curricular? Say, for example, this one. What I did was I link it to a blog of a professor from Stanford, and then they can read it, and then they will have like another perspective from a different author. Okay. And then I added here a next button. So it's kind of like their guide on what to do after this activity. So what I did was I went to shape and then I went to arrows. Okay. Click that. I just type next and then I linked it. So the same thing as what I did on the first one. I just link it, okay, to I just link it to the slide that I wanted. Okay, so for example, I am a student. I'm going to click next, and then it will bring me back to the nature of science slide. And if I wanna go to the next lesson, which is like the branches of science, I link it to another Google app, which is a Jamboard. Okay. So this is a simple activity that you can do or copy or modify for your students. So for example, I played with this a while ago. So for example, I want them to match the branch of science with the area of study. I use a sticky note, okay, a sticky note, and type all of those words with all yellow background. And for the area of study, I also use sticky notes, but I just still color or blue. Okay, so the student will just match the branch of science to the area of study, sticky note. So for example, plants is botany, okay, and so on. You know all of those. So this is an interactive way for them to navigate, and after that they can go back to the module overview. And then say for example I want them to review scientific laws and theories. Students can just watch a video via PBS Learning Media. So I copied the link address, okay, and then I link it here. Okay, so that's what I did. And then for example, they want to review, I link this also to slide number 5. Okay. Now, if you want to give a student a review prompts or questions, make sure that you also put the address or you link it to the answers to those review questions, because in modular you have to provide them to students. Say for example, these are the review questions that I want them to practice in Google Docs and share in Google Classroom. I added, okay, I added the answers to Module 1 review. Okay, so I use Google Docs. And here, in typing this, it's easy for me to do it. I use voice typing. Okay. And then, of course, if I'm done with the review, I click here, I will click here, next, and then it will bring me back to slide number 1. Then I will proceed to module 2, which is linked to slide number 7. And there's another virtual classroom for the entire lesson on the way science works. For example, I want to know scientific method. Okay, I inserted here the entire lesson that my students can do for that particular time allotment, in that particular time allotment that I gave them. Okay, so for engage, I use Google form, okay, as a review quiz to check their prior knowledge. For example, this is a scenario. You went to the garden and saw your tomato plant like this. Looking at the picture above, explain what's wrong with the tomato plant. So that's how I will hook them up, okay, for this particular unit. Or they will have an option to go ahead and watch a YouTube video, okay, watch a YouTube video about the steps on scientific method, the steps, the terms, and so on. Okay, there are many stuff on YouTube that you can choose from. And then for explore, because if you have like blended learning, you can give them like opportunity to do it at home or during the face to face. Okay, so you can modify whatever you want. For example, for me, I want them to make a straw tower that can hold a tissue box. Okay, or they can have another option like flotation of ice cube in water with different salinity and temperature. They have to design an experiment using scientific method. And then they can use lots of digital tools to explain, okay, what they did in the exploration step, or they can talk about it during Google Meet. And then for evaluate, this is another technique that I can share with you, okay, Jamboard. I like using Jamboard. So it's called brain dump. For example, from the word dump, they can just like add everything or dump all the concepts, words, images that it's kind of like their takeaway from the lesson on scientific method. And then you can also like do another Google form. Okay. a quiz or an assessment for scientific method. So this is like aligned with your pretest. So it's easy for you to figure out if they really learn from that particular unit. And for extension or elaborate, that's the 5 E's, the last E in the 5E model. You can put two questions or prompts. Say, for example, if you have a chance to change your design, what would it be? Explain why you want that design. So basically, they can go farther and their experimentation about what they did in the Explore. Or you can talk about identifying the constants, the dependent and independent variables in your experimental design. Or during face to face, you can make an engineering or STEM based activity for them. So you just have to link it to that particular address. Okay. So you can be creative and modify all of that, and they need to go to the next button. Sorry. Okay, which is they can go back to this activity. Okay. So for example, they went the back, they can also do like measurement lab, or they can do another module review. Say for example, they want to review on measurements and scientific method. There's like question here, same thing as what we did. And then they have to click the next button, and that's it, they're done. Or if they don't want to be finished, they can go back to slide number one and play Kahoot. So this is a very simple walkthrough on how I use different kinds of Google Apps and a module. Okay, hope you learned something from it and enjoy teaching.